Welcome to the EQ4 Life podcast. The purpose of the EQ4 Life podcast is to casually educate listeners on being smart about emotions, or what science calls emotional intelligence. And now, let's continue with part 2 of this EQ4 Life podcast. And here's our host, a practitioner and teacher of emotional intelligence, Parrish Owen Taylor.
And I had these conversations with a lot of my peers who are now, who either have already transitioned out of the Army or otherwise. If you hang your hat on a professional, a professional goal, CEO, president, COO, and not on the best father, a founded Christian, a good friend, that's where you got to find that new balance. New things are more important.
Well, that's, we got me all about models. So we got that 6-cylinder model that kind of just brings that out, man. It puts the quarters where the quarters go and the nickels where the nickels go. And,
you've seen the example of, the guy with a glass jar and a bunch of rocks, all sides. And he keeps saying, and at the end of the thing, what should go first in the jar? The big rocks.
The big ones, yep.
Which is your 6 cylinders.
Which is the important ones. The big ones are the important priorities, which is like you said, usually, you're not on your deathbed saying, I wish I would have worked more. It's, I wish I would have been with family, or again, more spiritual. You said something there earlier that kind of leads us into how you decompress a little bit. Cause since I've seen you've lost some weight. Which I think is a good thing, but let's talk about how when you had a lot, and I'm going to be very general because I want 2 answers here. When you were in your career, that's kind of what I would say is your military was your career. You still had family, you still had your health, right? The other cylinders. You had a lot of balls in the air. You had a lot of factors and things. What would you do to decompress, to keep yourself sharp in your role, and then as an influencer? But then how do you do it now? Or are they the same?
I would tell you, I probably did the opposite of what I just recommended when I was in my career. I sought alone time because when you're in charge, when you're in a very busy, high pressure positions, people want your attention. And so it's that constant energy expenditure that you have to give as a leader.
Right.
Answering questions, answering emails, answering the phone, going to briefings, seeing people, doing talent management, doing corrective behaviors. Those are very, very emotionally and physically tiring events that leaders go through. So as a leader in the military, I sought solitude. I sought a lot of times you find out in physical activities, running, swimming was I really love to swim, and that's a very solitude activity. I mean, you can really get into your thoughts. Find anything. I read, and people used to always. I always talk about, I'm reading On War by Clausewitz. I'm reading, War and Peace. I'm on these big, hard books. No, I read Clive Cussler. I read Jack Reacher novels.
Right.
Take me completely out of my mindset. In other words, take my mind off of something and put it on something else.
Well, and that's the message, isn't it? I'm thinking of the activity of swimming, right? It's not a natural activity. You said solitude, but I know if we were even on the solitude, I know we drill down a little bit more because we understand that, reflection is big business.
One of the most important things you can do is reflect.
Rewinding the game tape. And again, I'm an advocate, the small print, skills required. Most of us rewind a game tape and we beat our ass up and all the things that went wrong. And but there's something significant to what you just said there, that and the doctors call it an aha moment, especially if you're doing problem solving. But engulf yourself in it, whatever it is, but then go away mentally, not just physically, right? That's usually what we do. We walk away physically, you go find solitude, and we don't reflect proper. You would agree? Is there something to reflection, or is there something to that solitude time?
It is. One of the things that I learned as a leader, and then I try to embark with my business now, is as a leader, you have ultimate responsibility. Everything your organization is responsible for, you're in charge. So you're gonna get, you can get blamed for everything. So the human reaction is to try to do everything. And so what I like to try to do is get people to reflect on what are things only you can do. This reflective piece is the most important thing most important activity, I believe, for a leader, is to ask the question, why? Why did this happen? Why did these people do what they did? Why did that accident happen like it is? And until you step back from it, and because leaders have greater experience than the other people that are maybe executing that task, you have the ability to look above it, to sit on the balcony, like Sinjay talks about, and look down on the dance floor and say, what are the patterns? What are they seeing? Why did these things happen? It's that ability to step back, which really allows you to put some clarity on what happened, because you'll see things that nobody else saw.
Absolutely.
You'll see things that will surprise you. And then there are some terms that when I became a more senior leader, that I didn't really focus on when I was a junior leader, was like the term empathy. Mm-hmm. Dealing with humans.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to the question of why. And the aha moment I had with this is when I sat back and thought about, when you're doing discipline for a soldier's in trouble. And so, you discipline a soldier and you have everybody's in there. And it's usually when it gets to your level, not a question of whether or not they did what they did. They did it. So, it's really, you're just meeting to adjudicate what action is going to happen next, what punishment or corrective action is going to happen. And I used to sit back and go, and I thought about it. I said, here's a soldier who volunteered. Everybody's a volunteer in the Army. So he volunteered to be in the Army, just like everybody else in this room. We all volunteer. And on that very first day, just like everybody in this room, he put those green socks on, that green uniform, those black combat boots or tan boots or whatever color boots that he joined. He was as proud to wear that uniform as everybody in this room. He wanted to be here. He was excited, but more importantly, inside, he was proud. Because he's now a soldier. And more importantly, his family was equally as proud. So I used to sit back. This is to me is where commanders can or leaders can make a real difference. Is I sat back and say, okay, I'd ask this question: where did we fail this soldier? And everybody would look at you and go, "What do you mean? We're not here. We didn't fail." I said, "Yeah, we did." All right, we built a culture, either our climate or our culture, or the values that we brought to this organization were at a sync, to the point where this soldier who was once very proud to be in the Army no longer wants to be in the Army, doesn't want to do the right thing.
Okay.
And so this soldier, and it goes back to emotional intelligence, he made a conscious decision not to follow an order, to go out and against orders and engage in behavior that was not acceptable.
Right.
Or he caused an accident because he failed to follow the safety steps that we had put in place. Right. The question is why? Where did we go wrong? And to me, I felt like that's something that only a leader can do. Only a leader can stop the process and go, why? Why did this happen? And reflect on it and make correction to it.
Right. So you were talking about empathy.
Right.
And then we were talking about, the application of, because you said a couple of things I think our audience needs to listen, understand. And when you get off the dance floor, when what you're doing is you're removing yourself from the emotional intensity of the matter.
Exactly.
So we can get clarity of thought and better decision making. Because again, once we stay in the emotion, decision making doesn't take shit. It goes to the back seat. So I had a mentor one time. Go ahead.
You can apply that the concept of empathy by asking the question why. What's the soldier's story? What's going through this soldier's mind? Because only a leader can stop everybody from making the wrong decision by saying, "Wait a minute, is this soldier going through a personal challenge? This soldier getting divorced? Is he broke? Is he out of money? Is his kids active?" Right. You can ask, and all of those contribute to an individual's emotional intelligence and his ability to execute the job you have for him to do.
Absolutely. And we're talking about 4 to 5 different things right now. Again, leadership, development, EQ skills. We were on the subject of reflection and how, that's something needs to be done. I don't like to use the word meditate, but you often hear our psych docs talk about meditation. But, what I heard you say was solitude. So, the message here is when you got a lot of balls in the air, and I'm saying that in a very respectful manner because you're military. When you have a lot of things going on, especially safety critical, whatever role you're in, whatever title you're in, the emotional intelligence piece here is it's the third competency called stress tolerance, is knowing your level of stress and that you need to, like you said, take that time to solitude. And again, the message there is just keep your mind, off of all that other stuff you got going on, for short periods of time, as long as you can, which creates the health balance, we hope.
It's no different than, you talked about parenting. This reflection also works for great exercises and tools for parents. Why do you send a kid to, if you're having an argument with your child, why do you send them to his room?
Cool down.
That's right. See, you nailed it, Parrish. It's to put that separation between the two of you.
Yeah.
So both of you can reflect on what's going on here, but more importantly, as the leader, you can calm down.
Yeah, well, I learned that from my old man, right? You too. You came up a young boy, huh?
That's exactly right. I mean, so you think about it, though. To me, those are tools to help you control emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
And get emotions under control. Your ability to reason, your ability to project a presence, get your somatic awareness under control. In other words, your body language and your how your face looks, and it's all that time to separate. Those are great exercises or techniques to me and you talk about them in majority of almost all of your training in your seminars, is that ability to reflect, the ability to stop and get control of your emotions.
100%. I teach with Brian Tracy's still around, and that's and again, Chuck, I gotta say this, man. It's these are skills required to engage in these behaviors. To sit down and let your mind not run off down a rabbit hole to somebody said something, and again, all the things you're having trouble with. It does require regulation, awareness to that chatter. But 2 questions. What did I do right? Give me the attaboy that nobody sends, and there's a reason, because it goes into the pattern and hopefully for recall. But then the second question most always ask is, what can I do wrong? Which doesn't work at all well in human performance. It's what can I do better? Right. Yeah. So you're looking for those corrective actions. Visualization is big business. I know do you teach visualization at all, Chuck?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's part of our doctrine, and it's our we call it operation process. But as a leader, you're there to understand the problem, visualize a solution, describe that solution, and then direct, lead, and then the final step would be do the assessment on how we did. So,
which is human performance. That's all human. That's all.
You're 100% correct.
Yeah,
you're exactly right. And so that ability to visualize either in your head or on a whiteboard or through power, whatever medium you choose that's comfortable to you. That's also something I teach, or I have learned. It doesn't matter which medium you use. It's what works for you. And then your subordinates need to learn by you showing them, hey, how you think.
Now, when you say what medium, what do you mean there?
Like a whiteboard.
Okay. I'm talking about pictures in the head, visualization, right? I mean, you got to see it in the head first.
But that doesn't, if you can't describe those things.
Absolutely.
They get stuck in that head and nobody understands what you want.
Well, again, I think those are all part of the emotional intelligence skills. Somewhere, I know from a leader's perspective, because you hit on something there. Again, I teach it as the 3 V's. It's the tone of your voice. It's the words you use. It's the body language. You're sitting here telling me how much you like me, but you were frowning the whole damn time.
I mean, you're exactly right. It's that somatic awareness of how, the waving of your hands, the like you said, the tone of your voice, all of those things contribute to your own emotional intelligence, and also how people receive the guidance and directions and input that you want to send out.
Absolutely.
I always kind of laugh at people because I said, I'm a junior. I'm Charles R. Webster Jr. And so I am my father's son. Well, my father was a very intense, fill up the room kind of guy.
I never heard it put that way. That's a good way to say that.
Yeah, I mean, you knew he was in the room when he showed up, and he was loud. He laughed hard, and he was very intense. I mean, he can make a dog whine just walking in the room. And well, I got a lot of those same traits. I got the same body language. I got the same facial. I get the same facial movements, and a lot of times people look at me and go, "Wait, are you unhappy?" Like, my wife and I were taking care of some business last night at a local organization, local business, and we've been there for like an hour and a half. And the guy looked up and says, "Hey, did I say something that upset you?" I said, "No. What's up?" He goes, "Well, you just look like you're upset." I said, "No, that's just my normal. That's just my normal way I look.
That's my demeanor, man. I mean,
but not everybody knows that, and so that to me, that's especially as a leader,
right.
You need to do those assessments that you put people through. You need to go through there and determine, okay, what is it that I'm really good at, and what is it I'm not good at."
Right. Absolutely.
And the things you're not good at, well, somebody else, go find somebody who's really good at those things.
Well, that's the development thing, right? I mean, and again, I can't, we come out of the 80s, man, where you're just supposed to accept me as I am. So there's an attitude shift there that has to change a little bit.
You didn't show emotions.
Absolutely. You kept that shit to yourself.
Yeah, we didn't talk about self-perception and self-expression and interpersonal skills and decision making, and
that was all soft.
It is all the stress. Stress.
But I'm an advocate today, Chuck. I'm going to go to the grave saying this. I'm going to say that my technical skills and competencies, regardless of the role, the task, they won't show up if I have skill deficiencies in these soft skills, which we're calling emotional intelligence.
That's exactly
I think these are the foundational skills.
You know, there's the old saying that doing the right things and doing things right. They sound the same, but they're different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say that again now. What is that?
You know, doing the right things and then doing things right.
Oh shit, that sounds like a riddle.
No, you know, so who does what? Well, everybody does both things, but really the leader decides on what the right thing to do.
Thing is, let's do the right thing, right?
In other words, the right values, the right direction for the company, right. Hey, we're gonna launch this energy crew out in the weather, or in you know, they accept the risk. In other words, they choose to do the right things, but they're able to do that because they have to have confidence that everybody below them is doing things right.
Right. Right.
So
now you got the organization and the unit involved.
Right. In other words, so your subordinate organizations may not know why they are doing what they're doing, but they know that they have to accomplish this particular task.
Right.
And to be successful as an organization, everybody has to do things right. Like, for instance, when we first went into combat into Iraq, 2004, this is the first time all of us had, 2005, first time all of us, none of us had been in combat for any length of time up until that point. So this was all new to us. And so we really worked hard on learning how to do things right. And one of them was, you know, before we go out on a combat patrol, we do these pre-briefs, we do these sets of rehearsals, we go through a number of battle drills, we called them. You know, if this happened, you do this. If this happened, you do that. In other words, all the reactions, and we practiced everybody to do all the right skills. Those are doing things right. And then my sergeant major and one of those things was wearing your uniform correctly, and you know, making sure that the collar's on, making sure you're wearing all the Kevlar to all the right places. And one of them was always wear a pair of gloves. It was always one of the things that my sergeant major, my immediate subordinate, my partner would check on. And the way he would check on it, as we were patrolling in the city of Mosul, he would wave at people. And
you got gloves on, yeah.
What's the automatic reaction when somebody waves at you, Parrish?
You wave back.
You wave back. And so what was he able to see when people waved back at him?
If they had gloves on.
If people had gloves on.
Right.
So that's a small example. But by him doing that, he was reminding everybody all the time, do things right.
Yeah, there's something. It's something about the wave too. I don't want to get off on point, but there's something about the wave.
And to me, those automatic doing things right is a way it goes back to that word control, but to mitigate the risk of emotional intelligence taking you the wrong direction, or being that works better within the way you teach things.
Right. There's so much we could talk about, you and I, again, and that's going to lead to more broadcast, I'm sure. But because when you speak a lot from the leader's perspective of an organization.
I do.
We can apply all this stuff on our families. That's how you get two kids that graduate from West Point and a pro rugby player.
Or, a D1 football player in California.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, and I don't know the application. I think it's really, what is your take? What's your 2 cents, for those of us that maybe just struggling with relationships? Because we know a lot of veterans, maybe, I don't know if that's our market or listening, but we have a lot of people that struggle with relationships. How do you have a marriage for 31 years and raise 3 responsible, serving children? What's the application there, Chuck, for emotional intelligence in your relationships in your family? What's the idea there?
So I have to go back to my Christian faith.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And Jesus was asked, what was the most important commandment?
Love the
And
Father. Yeah.
love your father with all your heart and all your soul.
Mm-hmm.
And love your neighbors. Well, the second one is like the first, love your neighbors as you love yourself.
Right. Right.
So when Jesus was asked, what is the secret? And so it's love. It's true love. It is compassion. It is the feeling of really caring for others. So you ask me, and we do get asked this actually, because we're leaders in our church, and when there's a lot of young parents there, and we've had friends and peers that have asked us, what's the secret to parenting? What's the secret to long marriage? Mm-hmm. And I always say the same thing. If you want to have successful kids, love their mother.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Love their mother. That needs to be the example of what a man does. What a man does in a marriage, and that's love his spouse. Mm. And then, the wife, honor your husband.
You're speaking scriptures there, brother.
It is. It's in scripture, and so now that's not a subservient, a king servant relationship, but it goes back to the example. You want your boys to be what our society considers acceptable behavior. You want them to be respectful.
Well, I'm thinking of the word gentleman. I want my boy to be a gentleman, a scholar. Shit.
Unity and respect to all people.
Yeah.
That starts with love.
Absolutely.
And that same level of love goes back to the word of empathy.
Yep.
And so, in order to love your spouse every day, or whoever your significant other is, they're going to do things that make you mad. They're going to do.
You better be smart about your emotions. I can tell you.
But empathy says, okay, well, why is he or she doing this? What's going on in their life?
You're big with that why question, aren't you? You like the why question.
I'm a Simon Sinek fan, and I read everything he puts out.
Yeah, man.
And the latest, like, what game are you playing? Are you playing a finite game or an infinite game? And I won't get too deep in this, but a lot of times we have to win. We feel like we have to win. Well, what does winning look like if you're playing it? How do you win in marriage? How do you win?
It depends on the game. Depends on the measure.
Well, it's with the game you're playing. If you're playing the infinite game, the long game, the way you win is staying married. How do you win as being a parent?
Playing the long game.
You play the long game.
You hope. Got too many giving up. They quit at halftime.
Well, you're exactly right.
I know.
They start playing the wrong game.
I'm just using your model here. Well, wait, let's do a transition here. And I didn't mean to cut you off. I want to we talk about winning, and you've done a lot. I want to talk about personal best. I want you to reflect on the game tape. And I'm curious to see where you would put those admirations of the heart, because you've done so much, right? Military career, the family. What's a personal best for Chuck Webster?
My personal best is I've been married for 31 years to St. Caroline, and I got 3 unbelievable kids.
I love it. You put the family up there. Now, hey, look, every time you say Caroline, she's a military bride, right? Her whole family. I mean, she's got a lot of military.
Military brat. She grew up in the military. She was
what,
born.
Mama, daddy, who else?
Or she was born at Fort Benning, where her dad was going through a captain's career course, and then in between Vietnam tours. So she, in her mom's side of the family, every male child since all the way back to early 1800s, attended West Point.
Wow.
And graduated from West Point. And there has been a member of the Werkheiser, that's her mom's maiden name. That family tree has been somebody in service to our country continuously since this country began. So there's great traditions and foundation for service in that family.
Absolutely amazing. No pressure on you to get 2 out of West Point, right? We got no pressure.
It was their choice, though. I mean, I'm telling you, it was. We were very pleased with those choices. And then my daughter said, somebody asked her, "Why do you want to go to West Point?" She goes, "Well, anybody can go to college,
right?
And then go to West Point."
Absolutely. You were a part of the upper, the minority group. If you're going to go to West Point, for sure. So you're family best. And again, I think that's part of why we clicked, man, because the family is such a high up on my priorities, the cylinders, if you will. And what you've been able to accomplish there, not only as a husband, but again, as a parent. Lots to be said there.
Thank you for participating in this podcast event, EQ4 Life. To learn more about the EQ4 Life podcast or Parish, please contact us online at info@parishowentaylor.com or call 866-487-2815. That's 866-487-2815.